now to welcome two very special guests, Adam Bruce on my right, and his wife Sophia, and probably the most important person of all, Robert Bruce, who is 12 weeks old I think today. And also equally thrilled to have Colm McNamee on my left here, who's the author of one of the best and the most recent biographies and stories of the Bruce and his campaigns, and they'll both be making a very good contribution today. So I'd just like to say thanks very much for coming, and then ask Adam if he can just kick the day off in a proper style.
Thank you, Richard. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I apologise for the late start. We had to make a short pit stop on the road. Certain gentlemen required to be changed. Let it never be said that Bruce fouls his nappies in the face of the English. It's a delight to be here. Exactly a year ago today, a large number of us gathered at Scone Palace to mark the 700th anniversary of the enthronement of King Robert. I wish we'd had this weather, but it was a day of great celebration. When King Robert and his followers met at Scone in 1306, King Robert made it very clear that the mark of his reign will be one of fellowship after a time of great hardship for Scotland. Unfortunately, the year that followed Scone, the year that followed the great celebrations, was for him a time of deep personal tragedy, almost that his reign ended before it had properly begun. I don't want to steal any of Colm's thunder from later this afternoon, but I wanted just to say how truly significant Glen Trool is for the family, and how deeply significant this year has been. Not just for us, I have to say. Some of us have been busy over the last 9.5 months or so. But 700 years ago, as they left Scone, the Scots, at least the supporters of Bruce, would have been spared the thought that really he was only the king of the ground on which he stood. The rest of the country was either in the hands of the Cummins and the supporters of John Balliol, or in the hands of the English. And in that year, his family was literally torn from him. Shortly after Scone, he rather rashly decided to challenge the English to battle at Redmond. The result of that saw his party split, the women going north to the apparent safety of the castle at Kildrummy under his brother Neil, and he went west with his immediate followers. Suffice to say that Kildrummy was taken, his wife and daughter and the women folk were taken to London and placed in cages on the walls of the Tower of London. And things went from bad to worse. And many of you will have read, if you've read anything at all about his reign, the myth and the great legend of the spider in the cave. Well, what that summons up is that desperate winter of 1306-1307, when he took refuge in the Western Isles, possibly on Rathlin Island, before making a last desperate attempt to come back onto the mainland. He sent his younger brothers Alexander and Thomas before him. They were captured and very speedily executed by the English. So in the course of a year he'd already lost 3 of his brothers and all the women in his family and his life captured and imprisoned. So but by the time they got to Glen Trool, it was not exactly a lovely spring day. It had been the end of a very torrid winter. He had been hunted from one end of Galloway to another, both by the English and by the Scots, and who owed loyalty to John Balliol, particularly the family of John of Lorne, who we read in the Chronicles sent the best bloodhounds that they could find to track the man down. But the significance of Glen Trool was not that it was both that it marked the end of that torrid year, but also the beginning of what came next, the beginning of the rest of his reign. That sounds terribly trite, but it could all have ended here. It could have gone desperately wrong, and he might have been remembered in the pages of Scottish history purely as a footnote. And as they say, the past is never what it once was, but things could have been much different. So I'm delighted, on behalf of all of my family, on behalf of Sophia and myself, that you have made the effort to be with us today. We couldn't have asked for better weather and better surroundings. And in the words of King Robert at Scone 701 years ago, this is a day about fellowship and about friendship, about making new friends, about remembering old fellowship, about remembering the sacrifices made all those many years ago. So thank you again, and I think the order for the day is just to enjoy ourselves What better memorial could that be to mark the 700th anniversary of this great day. So thank you once again, and I will hand you now back to Richard, who I should thank, and Judy as well, for all that they have done in making today possible, because without it we would just have, some of us might have come to look at a stone, but otherwise it's become the remarkable day that it has. So Richard, Judy, and all the rest of you, thank you very much indeed.